Every anime fan dreams of having their favorite series get turned into a really good game. It's where so many titles are born, like the Naruto Storm series or Dragon Ball FighterZ. Games that do a great job with fan service while also providing some quality gameplay that everyone can enjoy. It's hard to satisfy the wants of every fan with the idea of better gameplay and plot style always being up for debate. Like those who enjoy Dragon Ball Z FighterZ specifically for the fighting, and those who enjoy Dragon Ball Z Kakarot because it has such a great plot. But regardless of which side you stand on, it's always true that the fans want the games to be good at the very least. And that brings us to today's game, Black Clover Quartet Knights. A game that I glossed over at first, but after recently catching up with the anime, I thought it would be a fun game to pick up on sale and give it a shot. I was hoping it would be the kind of game that would satisfy what most Black Clover fans would want. However, it didn't quite end up the way I expected. Starting off, the story mode features a totally unique plot that has nothing to do with the main canon. Honestly, this was one of the most disappointing things here. I'm not gonna pretend like I cared about the plot because nothing here is even worth mentioning. It was either that they decided to come up with a random side plot for this game as an excuse for it to exist, or they just threw together some filler and called it a story mode. And there's plenty of other games out there that put together a filler story as well, and I think One Piece has a fairly decent amount that I can recall. But the main problem here is that the game is just so short. Like, the main story can be finished in one sitting if you wanted to. For only 3 hours, it's pretty difficult to try and give a damn about what's actually taking place. If you're someone who wouldn't want to watch the fillers that are in the anime, then I think you'll be really bored with this one as well. But I will say that it does center around Captain Yami and his past, with him turning into a 14-year-old version of himself. A girl he knew in his past is back, but now being possessed by her dead father. With his daughter as a vessel, he aims to take revenge against the Clover Kingdom after being betrayed. And if you really care enough about the story and don't actually want to play the game, there's actually a spin-off manga that has the exact same plot in this game. Again, it's nothing canon, but it's there for whoever cares to give it a read. If you know anything about Black Clover, I'm sure you remember how people complained at first about how annoying Asta's voice is in the anime. He literally just yells in the most obnoxious way, and personally, it's much worse in the Japanese dubs. And it must be our luck to see that this game is only in Japanese, so we're forced to hear a ton of this.
Can you shut the fuck up?
And actually, that's an idea for a drinking game. Take a shot every time Asta yells in the anime, and I promise you that you will be lucky enough to last through the first episode. Now, I will admit that I do appreciate Studio Pierrot for creating the all-new animations in this game. There's not a lot of anime games that do this and tend to just go for CGI using the in-game models. Although there is a mixture of that within here as well. It's not a ton of it, and it damn sure isn't the highest level of quality like you'd expect from another game like the Naruto Storm series, but it's here nonetheless. As a matter of fact, the art direction here is just odd. We go from anime to CGI and then this lazy ass text in front of static PNGs of the characters. Damn, y'all couldn't at least move the images a little bit? At least make them bob up and down while each one is talking? I mean, the bright side is that they at least have voice acting, which isn't something that a lot of games would do for scenes like this. So yeah, good job giving 100% on the animation while also giving us something that I could make myself within 10 minutes. But moving on to the gameplay, it consists of a few different types of game modes. First, there's the regular action-adventure levels where you complete simple tasks and take down waves of enemies. Then we have two more interesting modes that are very similar to the modes that are in Paladins. Yeah, I said Paladins, the Overwatch clone, or the so-called Overwatch clone that's free to play, because it reminds me way too much of that. The first mode is called Crystal Carry, where you fight to control an area and then carry the crystal into the enemy's side as far as you can. Then the same will happen for the enemy, and then the team to get the crystal the farthest wins. And I'm sure you played plenty of games that have that kind of game mode too, where you have two teams fight to take an objective. Even Shinobi Strikers could be used as something of an example here. So it's interesting to see that this is one of the few anime MOBA games out there, if you'd even call it that. But this is a more ambitious part of the gameplay that I'm not too mad at. They also have a zone control mode that again is pretty similar to other MOBA games. It's not the most exciting thing, sure. Like, there's definitely some jank in there, and I could easily see online matches become nothing but a spam fest. But from what I played so far, the better strategies are to single out your enemy and keep them from helping their team. The less opponents on the objective, the better chance that you have to win. Again, pretty similar to Shinobi Strikers. But I'm pretty happy seeing anime games break free from just being the average arena fighter. It's the default standard for most shonen series, and it's not usually exciting unless it adds something unique. But wait, don't get too excited though, since this game has its own arena fights. Now, it's only one part of the gameplay and I don't have too much to say about it in particular, but at least it's there for those of you who really wanted that arena fighter experience. But going into the campaign, it's split up into 20 chapters, each one having at least one main battle section. The first 10 chapters focus on Asta's view of the plot, while the next 8 chapters focus on Yami's view, with the last 2 chapters being extra side stories focused on different characters in the Black Bowls. There's also challenges for some characters, but they don't really offer anything unique. Each one has you fighting a random squad of mages, with the challenge being to just defeat them. Something more like side quests, but they hardly give you any depth other than a short cutscene and a fight. It feels like it was added for extra gameplay, but nothing here is even worth touching. All of these game modes may mix up the flow of the gameplay, but at its core, the moveset and abilities that you have are going to be pretty standard. That's why I have to dig in a bit deeper, because I'm not a big fan about how this plays. First off, every character has a lock on and a crosshair when they fight. Now, for characters who have long range attacks and magic like Yuno or Noelle, that makes a lot of sense. Playing as them feels like a third-person shooter anyways, so why not? But why does a sword user like Asta also use a crosshair? It's a bit jarring, since I feel like I should always be ready to shoot out a magic wave, but instead all I can do is just lunge toward my enemy. And that ties into the different classes that you can play as, like a fighter, a shooter, a support, a healer, and Wizard King. It's kinda weird that they put Wizard King as a whole class, since it's only exclusive to Nova Chrono, the Wizard King. And even at that, he's only part of the DLC that I'm pretty sure that not a lot of people are buying. Now, I do see why they added in the crosshairs for how intense some of the battles tend to get, like completing objectives, running from enemies, and protecting your teammates can become hectic. So being able to move your camera and slightly lock onto enemies does help a bit. But the problem is that the camera is very weird at times. When I try to lock onto someone, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'll be able to stick on them really well, and other times it's like I'm having a battle with both the enemy team and the camera. It makes pulling off combos much more difficult than it needs to be, although the battles I've had aren't very difficult themselves. And I've lost my fair share of matches, sure, but it always tends to boil down to being aggressive and retreating when things get too heated. Since you automatically heal outside of battle, you'll be doing a lot of poking. Not my favorite thing to do in a game, but it's normal as far as MOBAs go. What Quartet Knights was created for seems to just be its online modes. Looking at the trophy list, over half of the trophies are just for playing online. It's also kind of weird that there's a trophy for winning online with each individual character. So you do have your work cut out for you if that's what your goal is. Thankfully though, this is one of the older anime games where the servers aren't shut down. Wow, that's actually shocking. But the amount of people that you'd fight against online is slim to none. That's why they have AI that you can match with, which is a little odd, but it means that you'd be able to unlock all the trophies without relying on friends to help out. All of my online battles ended up being with AI, but they still put up a hell of a fight. If you're a die-hard Black Clover fan or even just a trophy hunter, then this is a pretty quick game to play through and rack up trophies while experiencing the story. Otherwise, I can't possibly say it's worth the extra time and effort. With the way this whole game is laid out, it turns into quite the mess. And I don't mean a beautiful or artistic mess either. The entire time I was playing this, I had the feeling that it was trying just a bit too hard. Between the mix of different ways to tell the story and the different gameplay modes, they threw every idea out there hoping that something would stick. To me, that comes across as being too much of a clusterfuck to be worth your time. With the story mode being shorter than some movies these days and the gameplay being average at best, I honestly can't recommend this for anyone. And it's a shame because I really wanted a better experience from this. Because it seems like Black Clover gets clowned on as much as Fairy Tail and Seven Deadly Sins these days, but I actually enjoy the series. The characters and power system are unique enough to have made a much more interesting game, even if it did end up being closer to your average arena fighter. And I would love to see a much better game get released for it in the future. It does suck though, since there's not that many Black Clover games out these days anyway. But there is a mobile game coming out soon, so that's something. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad from what I've seen so far. I might prefer the style of that over Quartet Knights since it looks more like that My Hero open world mobile game, being able to explore areas from the anime and do some quick missions. Nothing too crazy and ambitious, but a good way of playing as fan favorite characters and enjoying the wonders of that world. But we'll see how that ends up when the game actually releases. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Black Clover Quartet Knights in the comments. Would you want to see more anime with this objective game style, or would you rather have more arena fighters? Personally, I'd just like to see a Black Clover game made by CyberConnect 2, but even I doubt that would happen, because I'd love to see any and every anime game get made by CyberConnect 2 at this point. But hey, only time will tell. Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video.